welcome to a brand new series here on my channel called The History of LEGO Marvel. Now in this first section, we're going to be taking a look at every LEGO Marvel set that came out from 2002 up until 2011. Now, those dates may seem a little bit wonky, but stick with me through the video. We'll definitely get there, and understandably, the Avengers sets came out in 2012, so anything before that is going to be based off of the Raimi Spider-Man movies, since those are the only real LEGO sets from Marvel that we'd gotten. So today's video will be all about those very old and very early LEGO Spider-Man sets. So, before we get into that, I think we need to dive back and look at what it was like shopping for toys in the early 2000s. Now, you might be saying, this is a video on the history of LEGO Marvel. What does that have to do with anything? But I think it's important to understand the climate of where toy shopping was in the early 2000s. Now, you have to understand that the first Spider-Man movie came out in 2002. And there was just such huge hype and demand for that first Raimi Spider-Man movie. Even to this day, people who saw that movie in theaters are just such huge fans because we'd never had Spider-Man on the big screen quite like that before, and it was truly revolutionary. At the same time, toy shopping was at its absolute peak. You had huge mega stores like Toys R Us and KB Toys, which were in a lot of outlet malls and regular shopping malls for that matter. So it was just an amazing time to shop for toys, and the big thing is that toy shopping was an experience. Now, of course, here we're looking at a LEGO Ninjago display, which is a lot more modern than 2002's first Spider-Man, but the whole thing is that toy shopping used to be an experience. I'm putting this video out in 2020, but if you're watching it in the way future, you might not know that going to a big toy store was like this, because as of this video, Toys R Us doesn't exist in the United States, KB Toys doesn't exist in the United States, and your only real options for getting LEGO sets are at department stores like Target or Walmart or Amazon or at a LEGO store or so on, but there are no big mega toy complexes like there used to be back in the early 2000s. Now that said, Times Square in New York was one of the biggest toy destinations on the planet. It was like a religious trip to get to go there, and I was lucky enough to get to go several times as a kid. But as you can see here, when Spider-Man came out, he had his own huge display, and while there's no LEGO in this photo, you can tell that it just commanded retail space in 2002 when this movie came out. So, that brings us to the first LEGO Marvel sets ever created. Again, these came out in 2002, and really up front there were only two Spider-Man sets. We'll break it down a little bit further, but they weren't really even Spider-Man sets per se. They were technically LEGO Studios sets. And LEGO Studios was an idea where kids could do stop-motion animation using a camera that came in another LEGO set, but these were just add-on pieces if you wanted to make like a Spider-Man stop-motion or something like that. Now, I had both of these sets as a kid, and we'll start off by taking a look at 1376 Spider-Man Action Studio. This priced for $30 back in the day, had 248 pieces, and came with 5 minifigures, including one that looks suspiciously like Steven Spielberg. Anyways, it seems like LEGO may not have been super confident to make a Spider-Man set at the time, because you also have to remember that this is before LEGO Batman, and there really weren't any LEGO licensed themes other than Star Wars, so making an entire line based on Spider-Man very well could have been a risk. That said, it was kind of smart of them to rope it in under their studios guys because, well, it made sense. Spider-Man was a big movie at the time, continues to be a big movie to this day, and LEGO Studios was a popular theme at the time. So it totally made sense, but I just wanted to explain why maybe Spider-Man didn't have his own theme as opposed to being a subcategory under another theme. Now, the second set was only $7, and that was 1374, simply titled Green Goblin. It came with Green Goblin and Mary Jane, and not really much to it. It's kind of hard to believe there would ever be a $7 LEGO set with two huge main characters like this in today's market, but hey, this was the early 2000s and things were very different. It was neat too that back in the day, there would be alternative builds on the back of the boxes. You could tell that this wasn't a huge box, and off to the right there you could see where you could press your thumb in to open the box. Now, as far as the two minifigures go, they were actually surprisingly detailed, especially Green Goblin. Mary Jane reused a head from some other LEGO Studio sets, and the Green Goblin was a completely new figure. Notice that leg printing on there? Leg printing was very, very rare in this era of LEGO sets, so it's quite cool that this one had it. Now, while we're talking about the Spider-Man 1 sets, there was a canceled set, which very rarely happens these days, and this was the wrestling scene. It's an unreleased set, and I've seen this image floating around on brickset.com for a very long time, and I just wanted to include it since this is a history of video. This would have been rumored to be priced at $24. We don't know how many pieces it would have had, and as we can see from this photo, there would have been at least 3 minifigures. My standing theory is that they actually didn't have the likeness rights to make Randy Savage as a LEGO figure, and I think that that's probably why this got pulled. But what do you guys think? If you have a theory, drop a comment and let me know. Now, one thing to comment on too is set 10075, which was a bundle kit. As far as I can tell, we don't really know much about this set, other than that it was like an add-on kit, where if you had the other 2 sets, you could add this in. I'm not really sure if this was like a thing where you would buy all 3 sets, or if it was just an accessory pack. I'm really not sure, and from the research I can tell, it really doesn't make sense. So I have the price is unknown, the pieces is unknown, even though it says 25 pieces there. I'm not really sure if that would be the case or not. So if anybody knows anything about this, drop a comment and let me know. So the following year would have been 2003, and that brought us 3 more Spider-Man sets, all of which were based on that first movie. Now, for the sake of this history lesson, I'm going to call this Wave 2, just so you guys know what I'm talking about. You can see here, this is a pretty neat advertisement that advertises 1 set from the first wave, which of course was that Green Goblin set, but with a new box here, interestingly enough, and then 2 sets from this 2003 wave. I found this crawling around on the internet and just thought it was kind of cool, and I should point it out. Anyways, jumping in, the first set from this wave was set 4850, Spider-Man's First Chase. This, of course, is based on the scene from the first Spider-Man Tobey Maguire movie, where he's still in wrestler mode and he chases down Uncle Ben's killer. This set had 3 minifigures, had 191 pieces, and retailed for $20 back in the day. Once again, on the back of these boxes, there were alternative builds, so I just like to point those out when I can find pictures to back it up. And then for the 3 minifigures, we had Wrestler Spider-Man, a cop, and then the Uncle Ben's Killer minifigure. Still kind of crazy that these figures had yellow skin, too. I should point that out. It wouldn't be until the following year that we got actual tan skin, but I'll talk about that when we get to it. The next set is 4851, The Origins. Now, this is a really cool set, which I wish LEGO would do more sets like today, because on one half, we have Peter Parker getting bit by the spider, and on the other half, we have Norman Osborn turning into the Green Goblin. Just such a cool concept to have the hero and villain transformations in one set. Very cool. In any case, this would have been $30 back in the day, have 218 pieces, and 6 minifigures. Pretty amazing for a $30 set. Now, of course, these minifigures are Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Mary Jane, the Green Goblin, which we'll take a closer look at here in a moment, Norman Osborn, and the Scientist. And I do want to give a shout out, too, before I forget to mention it, to Hub Pages, who had some amazing resources on these minifigures. Unfortunately, I did have all these sets as a kid, but they haven't exactly survived over the years, so I only have some of them. So thanks to Hub Pages for documenting these images, and that's what I used here. In any case, I said we'd take a closer look at that Green Goblin, and the 2003 version was an upgrade from the 2002 version because the helmet had some black printing as well as some great gold printing. It doesn't exactly photograph super well, but you can see here that it's definitely an improvement. That first one almost looks horrifying when they're side by side by comparison. But anyways, like I said, this was a fantastic set, and it was back in an era where we would get thin base plates for these sets. I can't even picture sets coming with base plates anymore, but it was a different time for LEGO, both in quality of the sets and, those base plates. So, very cool. Not to say LEGO's quality has gone downhill or anything, it's just changed. It's just a different thing. And speaking of a different thing, this set was absolutely awesome when I was a kid. This set is 4852, The Final Showdown, would have retailed for $50, had 360 pieces, and had 4 minifigures. And guys, just to give you a little history context here, if you had this set when I was growing up, you were the coolest kid on the block. This was an absolutely huge LEGO set, as you'll see in some photos here, and it was just awesome. With the Roosevelt Island ferry car and the big bridge, it was just fantastic. Now, of course, this set had 4 minifigures, actually. We had Green Goblin, we had Spider-Man, we had Mary Jane, and of course we had a taxi driver, which isn't all that exciting, but you know, hey, it's always cool to get kind of like city folk for your Lego sets. So, as I said, this set was absolutely massive. We had some alternative builds on the back, and it, to this day, is one of my favorite Lego sets. Maybe not necessarily out of like complexity, but just great memories. My mom and dad got this for me, and they actually let me set it up in the garage, and I would play with it before school every morning. So very great memories, and it really takes me back. Now, after the absolutely amazing success, no pun intended, that the first Spider-Man movie was, we of course got Spider-Man 2, and with it came a whole new line of Lego Spider-Man sets. Now, this isn't even everything here, but this is the main minifigure scale sets, and man, what an absolute awesome addition after the first wave of Spider-Man sets. The hits just kept coming. One other thing to point out is that between the first Spider-Man movie and the second Spider-Man movie in the year 2003, Lego launched a line of NBA-themed sets, and with this theme, it gave us our first flesh-colored heads. We got African-American heads, we got Caucasian heads, and we got lots of different colors, which previously before this, we'd only gotten yellow Lego heads, and then sometimes like darker colors for like robotic people and things like that, but this definitely kicked down the door for Lego licensed themes to have flesh heads, and then the Spider-Man 2 wave was one of the first waves to capitalize on that, and it's been going that way ever since. So up first, we had 4853 Spider-Man's Street Chase. This retailed for $10, only had 73 pieces, and had 3 minifigures. What do you guys think? Do you think this would have been a ripoff back in the day, or do you think it's actually pretty good? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, this had 3 minifigures in it, and of course Spider-Man and 2 robbers. I always thought it was interesting that the one robber had webs on his jacket, kind of like he already knew Spider-Man was coming for him. Anyways, because it's Spider-Man 2, of course, Spider-Man in that movie had a new suit that had a darker blue color, so the Lego minifigure reflected just that. I always thought it was a really great stylistic choice that the printing is exactly the same, except the Spider-Man 2 figure has a darker blue. I actually like it a little bit better than the first one, but let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like the light blue or the dark blue better? Anyways, this set was pretty neat. It was pretty small, and you could see that the skateboarder would go over this little jump here. There was a little street sign, a one-way sign, and a diamond shop that the robbers would rob. So, pretty neat little set for $10, and I'm curious to hear if you guys think this is a ripoff or not. Next up, we've got Doc Ock's Bank Robbery, set 4854. Now, I have some wonderful memories of this. My dad bought this for me at KB Toys before we were taking a family camping trip, and I got to stare at the box the whole way in the car, and then I finally got to build it over that weekend. Guys, if you're younger and watching this, cherish every moment, because, you know, these are the memories you'll keep for the rest of your life, like this one for me. In any case, enough about my memories. This set was $20 back in the day, had 174 pieces, and came with a pretty impressive 5 minifigures for a $20 set. Even by today's standards, that's pretty awesome. Of course, we got that same dark blue Spider-Man. We got Doc Ock. Very cool to get a big villain like this in a $20 set. We got a security guard, a police officer, and our first Lego Aunt May ever. Pretty neat. Now, thanks to the plastic brick, and like I said, I did take these images from some places online, but I'm going to drop some links in the description below where you can check out all of these awesome resources if you want to research it a little more. Anyways, this is the set. There was a police car, the bank itself, there was a vault that could be ripped out by Doc Ock, and then, of course, this little trike and a strange random tree, too. Never could figure that out. Guess a little scenery never hurt anybody. Speaking of scenery, this was an awesome set. 4855 Spider-Man's Train Rescue. This set was $30, had 299 pieces, so pretty decent piece count to price ratio, and it had 4 minifigures in it. Those 4 figures are, you guessed it, Spider-Man, Doc Ock, J. Jonah Jameson in his first Lego appearance, which might I add looked awesome, and the train conductor. Now, I couldn't really find any great pictures of the train conductor, so this blurry image of that and Doc Ock come from hub pages as mentioned. Now, this image comes from the Brick Economy, but it shows a really great look at what this set was. You can see off to the left side that there were some rubber band pieces that was kind of like a hammer, and when you would press that, it would launch the train toward the spiders down at the end of the track where Spider-Man was webbing up the train to try and be stopped. Now, this set isn't super accurate to the scene from the movie, but it's still a great set. I love the build of the train, and of course, getting those tracks as a kid was just revolutionary. So we've also got this image here, which shows us what the box art might have looked like on the back, showing all the play features. Just kind of explains it in a little more detail. Next up, we've got Doc Ock's Hideout, which is set 4856. This was $50, had 486 pieces, and came with 5 minifigures. Once again, this era of LEGO, 2004, we got some amazing figure and piece count ratios for the price. And this set had a big blue base plate, which you'll see here in a moment, but before we get to that, you guessed it, Spider-Man and Doc Ock come in this set. Our first ever Peter Parker minifigure comes in this set. Harry Osborn with a very strange haircut for a 20-something guy, and Mary Jane with some bedhead going on. But in any case, like I said, there's a base plate on this set. Really fantastic set. I've actually reviewed this on my channel if you guys want to go take a look at that. In any case, this of course was based off of Doc Ock's Hideout from Spider-Man 2, so it's kind of like an old abandoned pier. You can see inside we've got the generator, the fusion thing that Doc Ock works on in the movie. For some reason, Harry Osborn's in a speedboat because, hey, why not? And then all the way up there in the right corner, you can see that there was like a pier that Spider-Man could be launched off of and head straight into the action. So, pretty neat set. I always loved this one as a kid. I love it now, and when they hold up like that, you can't really complain. The final set for Spider-Man 2 was set 4857, Doc Ock's Fusion Lab. And this, of course, is based off of the beginning where Doc Ock gets tethered to his tentacles. Boy, lots of T-words there. Anyways, this set would have been $20, had 237 pieces, came with 4 minifigures, and was pretty neat for a little $20 set. Actually, looking at it now, this image from the plastic brick, once again, linked in the description, was really awesome. We got Doc Ock in his kind of like laboratory suit. We got Spider-Man, we got another Harry Osborn with his wicked weird haircut, and then we got this great ambulance driver in a pretty neat ambulance for the time too. Now, last but not least, there are some miscellaneous things I want to point out, such as this Spider-Man pen. Bet you never saw that before. They did a lot of pens for Star Wars and some other themes, but I actually didn't even know they made a Spider-Man one before this, so I might have had this as a kid, but boy, it looks brand new to me. Speaking of things that might look brand new to you, there was also these 2 4 Juniors sets. I don't really feel like they need to be dived into too much. They're kind of like the old Jack Stone sets, which nobody really cared for, but they are kind of interesting. I mean, I guess just as like a weird footnote in LEGO history, but, you know, if you want to know more about these, check out brickset.com. And that is going to bring us to the end of the actual LEGO sets that are made. So you might be wondering, well, what happened? Because this leaves off at 2004, and of course I said this video takes us up to 2011. Well, what happened is Mega Bloks got the Spider-Man license. For Spider-Man 3 and for The Amazing Spider-Man, Mega Bloks picked up the license. For whatever reason, LEGO didn't renew their partnership with Spider-Man for Spider-Man 3, and Mega Bloks picked it up, and the rest is history. So it's kind of weird to see these Mega Bloks, and we're not going to focus on them because, again, this is the history of LEGO Marvel, not the history of all Spider-Man bricks. So that's going to bring us to a conclusion for this video, guys. Next time, we'll pick up with 2011 onward, which is, of course, getting us into Avengers territory, and that will bring us all the way up to present time here in 2020. So drop a comment below. Let me know what you thought of this video. Did you have any of these sets? Did you want any of these sets? Were you even alive when any of these sets came out? I really would love to know your thoughts on this video, and let me know what you'd like to see going forward from this series. If there's anything I can improve on, anything I can extrapolate on or do better, drop a comment and let me know. I'm really having fun researching all these sets and putting it together, and I can't wait to hear what you think. So drop some comments, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next video.